I'm about to show you what to do next with your coffee table. What I've done is I've cut the legs so that they're the correct length, and I've also cut the rails so they're the correct length as well. The next step, what I'm going to do is have a close look at the timber and look for any damage and marks that may be on there that I don't want to see. So if I have a close look at this piece of timber, you might be able to see it. It's got a big chunk taken out of that point there. So I'm going to put that on the inside. So what I'm going to do is mark the better side. So if I have a look at this one, I'm going to mark what's called a face side and a face edge mark. It's a little bit hard to see there, but there's a small mark on there. That shows me the outside piece, the piece that's going to sit on the outside. The other thing I'm going to do is this mark here is towards the top. So I'm actually going to put that at the top so it'll be hidden by the table once the table goes on the top. The next part is to mark where the dowel's going to go. The dowel will come down, dowel joints will come down on this side and this side, so the two adjacent edges. So the thing you need to do is take a mortise gauge, and we need to find halfway on this piece of timber. Now you'll remember from year 9 that there's a couple of ways of doing it. I'm just going to put a mark into both sides of the timber, and once I find halfway I'll measure the edge down. Alright, I found halfway with the marking gauge, and the next thing I'm going to do is work out how far down I want to mark this line down this face edge and then the other face edge. If I have a look at my rail here, this rail here is 65mm long, so I don't want to mark down on this piece of timber more than 65mm, because otherwise it'll leave a mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark a line at 50mm, and then using the tri-square I'm going to put a line down the edge there and around the other edge. Now remember, we're doing these two lines opposite to where we put our face side and face edge mark. That's the good side there. This is the bad side, the bit we want to disappear. That's the bit that's got the piece taken out of it. So now what I'm going to do is take my marking gauge and I'm going to mark a line down until I get to that line. Now it doesn't matter if I go a little bit over, because remember that other rail is 65. So now what I have on here is the center point for one edge and the center point for another edge. Now I'm going to work out where I'm going to put my dowel. So on this one I'm going to put one at that 50mm mark there, and the other one I'm going to measure down. I will measure down 20mm. The measurements for this don't need to be exact, and if you want to know exactly how big, just double check with me or double check with your teacher just to ensure that you've got it right. So now I have two marks here where I'm going to drill, one at 20, one at 50. And if I turn it around, I've got another one at 20, another one at 50. And just remember, they're on the two adjacent edges. The next stage, I need to work out where the dowel joints will go in this piece of timber, the rail. Again, I'm going to have a look at my piece of timber here and work out which parts look the best. And if I have a look, it's a bit hard to see, but this one's actually got a lot of marks on that. So I'm going to make that the inside, and again, I'm going to make it at the top. So what I'll do is I'll put my face side and face edge mark on there, because that's going to be the good ones that I want to see. Now what I want to do is find halfway along this edge. So again, I do the same as what I did for the leg, and this one happens to match up perfectly first time. So now what I'm going to do is scroll my line down there. Remember, put in the vise if you have troubles, if you're not quite getting a straight line. Put in the vise. I'll do this on both sides. Now I look at my piece of timber and I look at the top. Remember, on our leg, this one down here, we measured 20 from the top, and then we measured down 50 to the next one. So now what I'm going to do is from the top, I'm having that piece there as my top. I'm going to measure down 20 millimeters, first one, and the second one comes down at 50. Now be as precise as you can with these measurements, because if the measurement's wrong, when you drill these holes, they won't match up. When you drill the holes in your legs, they're not going to match up properly. So just be as careful as you possibly can. Of course, you have to do this with all legs, so I've got to do this with all 4 legs. Important point, remember, look for any damage and put the damage on the inside if it's not too bad. And again, I'm putting this towards the top. People won't notice it once the tabletop goes on. Mark a face side and a face edge mark, so that shows me the good sides. Mark in where your dowel joint's going in at halfway on both of those, and then on all 4 rails, score a line down the middle of the edge, and remember, from the top, measure down 20, measure down 50. Okay, so do that on all 4. Now you can go and drill the holes into the 4 legs and also into the rails. Make sure you set the drill up so that you don't drill too deep, and make sure you've got the right drill bit, but we'll look at that again in a minute.